You are watching Trends. Every Thursday, we take a peek at the future to see what's ahead of us. How long until electric planes become reality? Welcome to Alux.com, the place where future billionaires come to get inspired. What if planes were electric? What if instead of long runways miles away from the city, you had small docks that allowed for a new breed of planes to take off and land vertically? What if we cut down the pollution from burning unnecessary fuel? Could planes go even faster than they do today? What if somebody did to the aerospace industry what Tesla did to cars? What does the future hold for air transport? We're not quite sure, so we began to research this issue. Where are we now? As you are enjoying this piece right now, there are over 16,000 planes in the air, flying from point A to point B. In total, there are just under 40,000 airplanes in the world licensed to fly. Over 10 million people find themselves in a plane per day, and as of 2017, we passed the 4 billion passengers per year mark, and that number is expected to double to over 8 billion passengers by 2037 as more and more people enter the middle class throughout the world. So, is it worth disrupting this industry? The aviation industry generated $825 billion in revenue in 2018 and is on track to do over $1 trillion by 2025. So the pie is definitely big enough to have investors interested. Where can the disruption take place? This part is pretty straightforward. You need to dramatically change one of three things. 1. The cost per person. 2. The speed of the plane, making trips faster, which as a result leads to more trips in the same time span. Or 3. The volume of passengers per trip. A Boeing 747 takes up to 170 metric tons of fuel, which adds a tremendous amount of weight to the plane if you were to fill it up. That's why most planes have just enough fuel to make the trip, plus a slight safety net. To fill a jumbo jet up, it would cost between $200,000 and $400,000, depending on the size and price in the market for jet fuel. The advantage of traditional fuel is it's widely available for now, and as the plane keeps on flying, it's burning off fuel, and the plane becomes lighter. A problem that's not going to be solved with electric planes, since you still have to carry the empty batteries with you. But electricity is cheaper than even the cheapest fuel. With renewables growing in popularity, it's obvious that at some point there'll be a switch from traditional fuel to electric. We're seeing that happening with cars, so why not with planes? The problem lies in the range of the aircraft. We haven't solved long range just yet. Biggest players. When it comes to the large plane market, we're dealing with a duopoly. Boeing and Airbus control over 99% of the market, and they want to keep it that way. Boeing has been struggling lately in the news that 2 of their new planes crashed in less than 6 months of each other, but they're still doing well because there aren't many alternatives. Boeing alone has spent over $250 million in lobbying. When smaller airliners get to a point where they have a shot at competing with them, they simply acquire the company, like what happened last year with Canadian company Bombardier. They're doing really well and they have no interest in changing. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. These companies prefer to incrementally improve their products over time because new designs and technologies can be extremely expensive and risky. The cost per plane is in the hundreds of millions, so companies make an effort to stretch the lifespan of each airliner as much as possible, thus slowing down innovation even more. However, this doesn't mean they don't have their eyes on an electric future. Both companies have acquired and funded startups in the electric space. companies like Zunum Aero and the Air Race E project. But even these are not massive shifts from the traditional way planes look and operate. Think of Boeing and Airbus, like the big car manufacturers of GM, Volkswagen, and Toyota. They've got a model that's working well for them, so they don't keep competing in the new space, unless a company like Tesla shows up and forces them to shift focus in order to remain competitive. Potential. The future lies in supersonic VTOL electric planes. VTOL stands for vertical takeoff and landing. Modern-day planes have a limiting design, carry around a lot of useless weight, and 25 years from now, planes will look quite differently than we're used to. New startups as well as old money are pushing the boundaries of speed and design. Electric airplanes could rise higher than traditional planes because they do not need oxygen for combustion purposes. This also reduces the air friction, improving the overall speed of the airplane. A supersonic electric plane could theoretically cut travel time by at least a factor of 2. Electric planes also have a higher power-to-body weight ratio than combustion engines, meaning they would be able to vertically take off and land with a smaller engine than a traditional plane would. This, in turn, would allow for the removal of several parts which are no longer needed as long as you would simply rotate the engine. The truth is, electric planes are already here, but they're not there yet, in a very similar way of how the first electric cars were presented. They were limited, ugly, and more of a passion project than a viable business. Electric planes have found success anywhere short range is enough, like in training, dropping the cost per flight down by a factor of 10. The biggest problem keeping planes from going completely electric lies in the batteries. Although battery technology is getting better and better at an incredible pace, we're still at least a decade away from a viable option. Then there's the problem of space and storage. As we mentioned earlier, unlike in the case of traditional fuel, you still have to carry the batteries with you, even when there's no longer any juice in them. Another challenge would be to make them at least as safe as previous generations. Electric planes also make sense from a climate change perspective, since planes leave one of the largest carbon footprints in the world. Not to mention that exactly like with electric cars, the entire industry's behavior would need to change. For cars, we need a network of superchargers and the project to go mainstream. With vertical takeoff and landing electric planes, we would need to make more modifications to the way we think about airports and airspace. Lastly, at least in the US, supersonic airplanes are currently illegal over landmass because of the sonic boom they produce. But we've already made great progress on that front, with new supersonic planes generating as much noise as you slamming a car door. Conclusion: we've still got a long way to go until all planes go electric, but money is pouring in. With change, there's a lot of money on the table, and we'll see new players battle the old titans for a piece of it. Former Air France CEO Alexandre de Juniac says that commercial airplanes could become a reality in the next 15 years. Running with the same model as with the electric car, we'll first see the wealthy adopt this change with a high-ticket item, probably a fully electric private jet. Then, as battery technology gets better, we'll see more and more short to medium-range electric planes make their ways into the airports, with a long-term plan for radical innovation. Question: what do you think, Aluxers? Do you believe you'll get to fly in a supersonic vertical takeoff electric plane in your lifetime? Let's start a conversation in the comments. And as a thank you for watching this video until the end, you get an extra piece of content. Bonus. In order to make electric planes a reality, you would need a visionary entrepreneur, someone who has extensive experience in both electric automobiles as well as aerospace. But where can you find someone who's good at both engineering electric cars and rockets? Oh yeah, there's Elon Musk. For years, Elon has mentioned numerous times his plans for a new design of electric plane and expressed more than enough interest to undertake a project like this one. It's obviously a perfect fit for him. The issue is, the man has his hands full with everything he's doing right now, with all his companies in extremely competitive spaces, so there might be an issue of him spreading himself too thin. Although this would be incredibly epic, you're doing enough, Elon, and we hope his interest inspires more visionaries to go after this space. Thank you for spending some time with us, Aluxers. Make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss another video. We also handpicked these videos, which we recommend you watch next. Thank you for being an Aluxer, and we'll see you back tomorrow.